Hello, Internet. My name is Roro, and welcome to my channel. I hope everyone's having a good day. Today, I wanted to talk about sort of something that goes along with one of my other videos about being a recluse, and that's the idea of having friends, maintaining relationships, and maintaining open lines of communication with people and what that means and how that applies to my life. So let's get into it. Something that I say often is that I don't have any friends. Now, that doesn't mean I don't talk to anybody. That doesn't mean I don't hang out with anybody. It just means that there's nobody in my life that I really consider only a friend. Most of the people that I interact with on a regular basis are people that are either in my family, an actual part of my family, or people that I've known for a very long time that I essentially consider my family. They're people that I trust to an extent with a lot of things. We know each other really well. We've been through a lot of experiences together, so I have a close bond with them, and that means a lot to me. And those are the relationships that I truly value, because in my experience, a lot of people in the past that I've considered friends, our relationship ends up being very frivolous and doesn't really lead anywhere. I end up seeing sides of them that, behaviors that I don't agree with, or just things that I don't like about them that makes me not want to spend time with them, which is nothing against them personally, but that's just how I kind of gauge my friendship with people. And of course, there's things that my family members do or my really close friends who I consider family do that maybe I don't agree with, but we've been through enough things together that I understand them at their core on a deeper level, and I'm able to see past those things. But when it comes to meeting new people and starting new relationships, I have a very low tolerance for things that I don't fuck with. And I don't see a purpose in creating a new relationship with somebody that I know is not going to end the way I want it to end, or it's going to end. You know what I'm saying? And especially as somebody who prefers to be alone most of the time and spends a lot of time by myself, not talking to many people, I just don't see a purpose in that. It doesn't seem worth my time. I've had enough experiences in the past where people who I've considered my friend or have considered me their friend have showed me that they don't really care about me to the extent that I require in a friendship. And they've, fucked me over in some ways. They've, done things behind my back or stuff like that, just betrayed my trust. So I'm very hesitant to start any new friendship with anybody for those reasons. Another thing that I talk about often is the concept of what I call friend homework, quote unquote, which is basically when you're friends with somebody, there's certain things that they require you to do in order for you to be friends with them. Like it's like a conditional friendship. It's like, if you do these things for me, then we can be friends. And it's not always stated in that obvious of a way, but it could be something along the lines of, we don't message each other enough. What's wrong? We don't hang out enough. Do you not want to hang out with me? Do you not like me? And that to me is just emotional immaturity. Like, you got to be okay with yourself before you can really have a true connection with anybody. And if you're so dependent on metrics of friendships like that, like there's like a threshold of an amount of messages that you have to send back and forth, or an amount of times that you have to hang out to remain friends, then that's not somebody that I want to be involved with. My closest people, my family, my closest friends, there's some of them I don't talk to for months, but then when we do talk, it's like nothing happened. It's like there's no bad blood, there's no issues, because we have an understanding of each other, and that's not a requirement that we have. And definitely a reason why I'm so hypervigilant about stuff like this is because in the past, I was a huge pushover, and people would take advantage of me super often. So now that I have the knowledge of ways to avoid that and how to stand up for myself and how to value myself and not let people take from me constantly, I have no tolerance for that kind of stuff. And I don't want to make it sound like I don't do anything for anybody ever. That's definitely not the case. But I'm not afraid to admit I am a little self-centered. I wouldn't say I'm selfish, but I really do try to value myself higher than anything and think about myself first, which is not something that I always did in my life. And it's something I'm still working on and something that I'm working towards achieving in a healthy way. And honestly, it's been very difficult because I've always grown up putting everybody else's needs before mine, but that left me in such a shriveled up place where I wasn't even able to take care of the basic necessities of my own life. And I don't even mean time and like physically doing things for people, even just mental labor, emotional labor. A lot of people come to me with their problems because they know that I'll listen and that I'll respond and I'll give them advice, because I've dealt with a lot of things like, mental health wise, especially. But that can get very tiring after a while. And it gets to a point where I'm like, dude, just go to a therapist, man. Like, I don't have the answers for you. I can tell you what I've done, but our lives are very different. Our traumas are very different. So it's like, you got to figure your own shit out. And even saying that out loud makes me feel like I'm an asshole and I'm doing something wrong. You know what I mean? But I do help people all the time still, but it's the people, like I said, that I value their relationship, that I truly care about. I'm not just like this open, free therapy service for random acquaintances that I have anymore. I stopped doing that. Because what I realize is a lot of people, they'll just take and take and take from you until you have nothing, and then they're just gone. And I've been able to sort of see that pattern in certain people and avoid it, which has been a really good skill that I've developed. But I only have developed that skill because of how many people have taken advantage of me in my life. And all of that is a little bit more specific and a little bit more serious. It doesn't always have to be that intense. It can be more basic, like I said, like, why don't we hang out enough? Do you not like me? Stuff like that. Those are just things that, in my opinion, if you're building a friendship with somebody, you should look out for that kind of stuff and make sure that you're both on the same page and that you're in agreement of what you're both trying to get out of this relationship. And I really don't want it to seem like it's this mechanical thing, but if there's no consent between people, even at that base level, 9 out of 10 times, people will try to take advantage of you. All right, maybe it's not 9 out of 10 times, but it's often enough where it's worth pointing out and worth trying to notice. But this is sort of turning into a negative spiral, and I don't want to go down this path anymore, so I'm going to change the subject a little bit. I want to try to keep the content on this channel positive, but at the end of the day, I mentioned this in my first video, I'm not really promoting this channel, and it's really just a place for me to rant and get things out. So let's move on to something else related. So this all kind of leads to a point that I've made in my video about being a recluse, which is it's all about being self-reliant and not depending on people for a lot of things in your life, literally, financially, emotionally, all that kind of stuff. You really got to focus on yourself. Make sure you're good with yourself. Do your best to work through your problems and make time for yourself, that you just are with yourself, enjoying yourself, doing activities that you really love. That stuff is super important for mental health and just for being a good person in general. You have to have a base layer of enjoyment of life without needing other people to do that, because people are always going to let you down. No one's ever going to give you everything that you need. Like, no single person, no single 2 people or 5 people. You're never going to get everything you need from other people. There's a lot of things in your life that you have to get on your own. And honestly, I feel like a lot of people don't think that way. A lot of people go to other people when they have problems regularly. Like, that's just what they do. And I'm trying not to make this like a black and white thing. Like, obviously you need people in your life to an extent for certain things, like for support and for, just general friendship, interacting, all that stuff is also very important. But you can't just assume that people are going to just do everything that you need. There's a quote that I believe is attributed to Bob Marley, which says, "Everybody's going to hurt you. You just have to choose which people are worth suffering for." And I think that's very accurate. I think the honest truth in my experience is that most people are too afraid to confront their own problems head on and address their traumas and really deal with it. So they just let it sit and sink into them, and then that affects the people around them in many different ways. And I don't want this to seem like, pick yourself up by your bootstraps kind of thing, because I definitely don't agree with that. I understand firsthand that it's very difficult to deal with these kind of things, but if you're an adult and you're trying to function in society and you're trying to have relationships with people and it's getting in the way of your daily functioning, you have to address that. And no individual person in your life is going to fix you. You have to be willing to fix yourself. And I think a lot of people are just not willing to put in that work. They just want other people to accept them with all of their faults. And then they get upset when people don't accept them, when they are doing things that are toxic or unhealthy or just damaging, And there is nuance to this, because some people may not be aware because they're so hurt that they've just pushed it away for so long that they've learned to live with it. But that's not okay, you know? That's not something that you should just accept. And it's also not something that you should just accept in other people. You know, just because you go through hard times and you deal with hard things, like I have mental illness up the wazoo, you know, like I've been hurt in my life. You know, I don't like to compare suffering, but I've been through a lot, and I don't excuse my bad behavior for anything, you know, like it may be a reason, but it's not an excuse, and you got to work on that. You can't just hurt people because you've been hurt. And I don't want this to sound like I'm putting myself above people, but I have put in the work, and it was fucking hard, and it took years. But I'm in a place now where I have tools that I didn't have in the past, and I'm able to deal with things in my life that I wasn't able to deal with in the past, and my relationships have only benefited from it. And it's not something that you normally just address once and it goes away. It's a constant thing you have to work on and you have to maintain. You got to keep checking in on yourself. You got to keep taking care of yourself and making sure that you're treating the people in your life that you care about in a respectable way. So yeah, to sum up, that's basically why I don't have many people in my life that I consider friends, and I only really stay connected with people that are family or that I consider family, is because a lot of people, they're just not ready to really commit to being a person, if that makes sense. Like they just want to kind of get by however they can get by, and that's fine. Like if you're okay with that, that's totally fine. This is just my personal experience, my personal opinion. Those are not the type of people that I want to be newly involved with. So that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it was informative. I hope it wasn't too ranty and too negative. But as I said, I'm really just using this channel to vent. Uploading a new video every Sunday. You know, I'm not really sure exactly what I'm going to be doing with this channel. For now, it's just this is what I'm doing. But if you're here, you're watching, I appreciate you sticking around. It really means a lot. And if there's anything you want me to talk about or to clarify, you know, feel free to leave it in the comments. I have my email address on my channel too if you want to send me an email, if you want it to be more private. Totally up to you. I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear what you guys think, or if there's anything you want me to talk about, please let me know. And yeah, that's all. I'll see you guys next week.